Ever since the ill-fated flight of Daedalus and Icarus from an island prison, man has longed to emulate the elegant, apparently effortless flight of a bird. Perhaps the closest we've come in elegance is Concorde, but the 40,000 horsepower needed to get that into the air is a lot of effort. With one manpower, or half a horsepower, it's hard enough to get off the ground at all. Never mind the elegance. But maybe that's the key. If man is ever to fly like the birds, perhaps he must match their effortless style. Today, there's one man who dreams of being able to do just that, imitate the grace of a bird. And that dream is coming one step nearer reality. He's had a lifetime of ideas about how to do it, and his first one was to harness the power of the sun.
I wanted to go one step further in my longing to fly like a bird. And nothing seemed more obvious than to use solar energy. When I built this model about 10 years ago, we knew absolutely nothing about that sort of thing. And we had no idea at all whether the plane would ever fly. Yet 2 years later, it was in the air. So, the next plan was to build one big enough to sit in. The idea was that you stand on the runway, the sun on your back, then off you go.
One thing was the idea, quite another was the reality. For a start, Gunther Rochelt had to devise a way of getting 1/4 of a ton of weight, the plane and the man inside it, into the air with nothing much more than the power of a lawnmower. It seemed a futile task, but Rochelt was determined to give it a go.
What I had to do was design the thing in such a way that I kept down the weight at the same time as keeping the thing stable. And most important of all, making the most of its aerodynamic efficiency.
The answer was to find materials that were both light and strong, and that's where Rochelt's knowledge of high-tech came in useful. He combined a special high-strength nylon, Kevlar, with a material made with carbon fibers. Sticking the two together with a strong epoxy resin allowed him to mold the compound to any shape he wanted. In this case, the undersurface of the long, smooth, curved wing. But on the top of the wing, he faced a new problem. How to lay 3,000 flat solar cells on a curved surface without reducing the efficiency of the cells. Furthermore, the delicate cells had to be protected from damage. His solution was to break up some of the cells to fit neatly onto the surface of the wing, and then to cover the whole lot with protective silicon. This transparent layer had the effect of a lens, focusing the sun's rays onto the cells, and so increasing the efficiency of the whole structure. But even so, the assembled craft was expected to get into the air with little more than 2 kilowatts of power, enough to run 2 rings of a cooker. The finished version needed 35,000 soldered points to ensure that if the wiring circuit broke in one place, it wouldn't affect all the surrounding cells. And just in case they encountered the odd cloud during the flight, after all they were in Northern Europe, Rochelt installed some batteries which could store power from the sun. But even with all these precautions, no one, least of all the designer himself, could be sure that this strange bird would ever take to the skies.
Gefühl wie Weihnachten.
The only casualty?
Das sind die Späne,
A few
die
bits of the
liegen dort
propeller
unten von der
shaft.
Propellerwelle.
It had taken Rochelt a year longer than he'd planned to get into the air.
Naja, da kannst du meine Zeitrechnung erkennen.
So that shows you what a good timekeeper I am. But the main thing is to crack it before it gets you down. And my optimism was justified.
Was it?
Well, it does fly. Really, it makes me laugh when people say it's not worth thinking about alternative energies this far north. When here I am getting a quarter of a ton off the ground with 2 kilowatts of power.
In 1983, Rochelt succeeded in staying in the air for a fantastic 5 hours and 43 minutes, a world record that still holds today, and which earned his solar-powered flying machine a place of honor in the Deutsche Museum in Munich. And in an adjacent hall can be found the next step in Rochelt's quest to fly like a bird. Having proved he could do it with the sun's energy, he had now turned his attention to harnessing manpower, just 1/7 as powerful, with the help of his son Holger, who flies the planes that his father builds. The birth of this particular craft goes back to a competition organized by an Englishman, Henry Creamer. The idea was to design a plane that could fly in a figure of 8, extremely difficult with the long, unmaneuverable wings of most man-powered aircraft. But Rochelt achieved it in 1984 with Musculaire 1, completing the Creamer course almost twice as fast as anyone else. Riding on this success, Rochelt decided to test the aircraft to its limits. He seated his daughter, Katrin, who weighs 4.5 stone, as much as the whole aircraft, behind the pilot's seat. With Holger at the controls, Rochelt watched as the aircraft took off. Holger's muscle power kept it in the air for a whole minute, enough time for it to travel over half a mile. After all the celebrations and excitement of having achieved his quest for muscle-powered flight, a lesser man may have rested on his laurels. For Gunther Rochelt, the success inspired him to dream up new improvements for his man-powered aircraft.
One of the most important things is the design of the pilot's seat. The better the position of the pilot while he's pedaling, the more power he can generate. After all, the pilot is the engine.
The seat was molded to fit perfectly Holger's back and pelvis. This would rule out any side-to-side movement of the pilot's body, allowing him to put his maximum force into pedaling.
Am besten so? So draußen. Okay. Okay. Schau mal einen negativen Arsch.
Rochelt's calculations showed that the aircraft would be able to reach a record speed if the pilot could generate 280 watts of pedal power. With his custom-built seat, this was exactly what Holger achieved. Other modifications to the wings, the tail, and the cabin of the craft, as well as what they'd already done to the pilot's seat, resulted in a brand new model, Musculaire 2. And this one weighed half a stone less than its predecessor. With Musculaire 2, Gunther and Holger set up a new world speed record for man-powered flight, a record which remains unbroken.
Flying at high speed by muscle power seems, well, it's really daft, really. But it's achieving something that seems impossible. It gives me a buzz. Especially when you beat the Americans, as Holger did, without any of their standby muscle-powered batteries.
Safely landed. Now for the debriefing.
Pass auf nur, dass ich das jetzt nicht sofort vergesse.
I must tell you, Father, before I forget, throughout the whole flight I was being pushed to the right, so I had to keep adjusting the plane to keep it straight.
Da hast du links dagegen geben müssen.
Did you push the control stick
Ich habe
down?
den Querruder dagegen gehalten.
Oh dear, yet another problem to iron out.
Das ist schon denkbar, dass die Flächen einen Verzug gekriegt haben mittlerweile.
Mit großem Respekt vor Ihrer Leistung
In 1986, Rochelt was awarded a prize for his achievements in man-powered flight.
überreiche ich Ihnen den Philip Morris Forschungspreis Herausforderung Zukunft für den Bereich Transport und Verkehr. Alles Gute. Vor allen Dingen wünsche ich, dass Sie große Strecken sicher in großer Höhe
The
zurücklegen.
pomp of the ceremony didn't fool him. Rochelt knew that he wasn't always taken so seriously.
Naja, das ist jetzt so ein
Well, this is a very happy day for me.
Vielleicht wünsche ich mir
And I
jetzt
hope
was
that
hinterher.
maybe after this I can expect a bit more encouragement from industry
Ein bisschen
and a little less
weniger
arrogance towards
Ignoranz
people like me
über
who seem to be seeing merely as crackpots.
Ich glaube, dass
Rochelt's next project was to appear to the outside world as crackpot as any. Yet no one knew how important it would be in taking him one step nearer the birds. Back in 1811, a tailor from the German town of Ulm, with the same fanatical dream as Rochelt of flying like a bird, had become the laughingstock of his city when he tried to cross the river Danube on a pair of wings. He was about as successful as a newly hatched chick. 175 years later, modern-day birdmen were challenged to build a craft combining the tailor's design with 1980s know-how to get them all the way across the river. With a £20,000 prize at stake, the race was on to build the perfect vehicle. It had to be a glider, and it had to take off from a height of a mere 40 feet above the ground. The big problem with the tailor's design was its short, fat wings. According to today's calculations, there was no way such a shaped glider could go further than 45 yards. And at Ulm, the river Danube is 75 yards wide. The ever-inventive Rochelt had devised an ingenious plan. He divided the wing into two, making the front section firm and strong, rather like the wings of Musculaire, while the back section was left loose and floppy and acted like a tail. This way he'd got, in effect, a longer, thinner wing, and the sums suggested that this should get him safely across the Danube. Hidden away in a forest, Rochelt and his team worked secretly to realize their clever plan, hoping that no one else had come up with the idea of the divided wing. The weight of the aircraft presented a slight difficulty. Rochelt wanted to keep it around 35 pounds, but the paint alone, necessary for that 19th century look, weighed 6 pounds. The finished craft totaled nearly 50 pounds. Perhaps Rochelt need not have worried. When the other competitors tested their designs on dry land, they didn't appear to have any secrets to hide. Still concealed from the prying eyes of his rivals, Rochelt's plane was prepared for its test flight. The trusty Holger took up his pilot's position in front of a group of select onlookers. Some invited, some just happening to be there. Rochelt's divided wing concept was looking hopeful. Just before the competition, 56 magnificent men and their 56 flying machines gathered in a hangar in Ulm for the judges' final approval. Within the rules laid down by the organizers, the contestants had dreamed up every possible kind of technique and material in their efforts to devise a craft that might win them the coveted prize. When the judges made their final inspection, 16 machines were deemed unsafe to fly. That left Rochelt with 39 eager rivals when the big day came.
Gestern hat noch zu mir gesagt, ohne Frieden ist mit nichts.
Rochelt managed to delay Holger's takeoff until the crosswind had died down. He was the third from last contestant to fly. The only one to reach dry land. The price of success, a dislocated elbow. So pleased was Rochelt with his triumph at Ulm that after the competition he took his bird and his pilot to the Bavarian countryside to analyze in more detail the secret of its powerful performance. From over half a mile high, Holger took off on an incredible journey. Over the hills and far away, he really was flying like a bird. For Rochelt, the flight was a technical revelation.
It turns out that the back part of the divided wing, the bit that flaps like a tail, which I designed simply to achieve a longer, slimmer wingspan, has an unforeseen advantage. It manages to keep apart two currents of air which normally mix together, increasing the drag on the glider and so reducing its speed. This discovery's convinced me I'm now one step nearer to cracking the bird's secret.
And fortunately for Rochelt, the long-suffering Holger is still a willing assistant.
The design and construction are interesting, of course, but that's not what I really find exciting. It's being the pilot, flying the machines, that actually gives me a thrill.
Far from settling back in his nest, our intrepid birdman is soon hard at work on his next project, putting into practice the theory he's learned from his 19th century style flying machine. With the help of a local cabinet maker, Rochelt's new plan is to design a high-performance hang glider.
At last, I could see a way of joining the birds. And that's what this new machine, codenamed Flair, is all about. See, the idea is to achieve the real freedom of birds by building a machine with folding wings, just like they have. Now, that way, it can be completely portable. I can erect and dismantle the craft anywhere I like, in minutes. Hardly longer than a bird takes to prepare for flight. I decided to start by building a model, so I could work out exactly where the wings should move and fold. At the same time as making this glider as fast and efficient as possible, I'm also keen to improve its overall performance, handling, steerability, that sort of thing. So it's quite a task we face.
Not only that, making wings of wood perform like wings of muscle, flesh and feather is no mean feat. And being only a model, wood was all that they could afford.
But the advantages of a model are tremendous. There are so many things you just can't foresee from a drawing. When you've got the model in front of you, you look at it and suddenly you think, well, my God, of course, that's where that bit fits. That's why that doesn't work. Things that you simply don't think about when you're designing the plane become blindingly obvious when you've built the model. I've already spotted 2 places where I kidded myself when I designed the machine that it'd work. And of course it doesn't. So it's back to the drawing board. But that's why I keep at it, just so I can go on finding out, damn it all, it doesn't work.
Once Rochelt was satisfied he'd got a design that stood a fair chance of functioning, he built a radio-controlled 1-in-3 model, complete with electric motor. This allowed him to play at much longer flights with his new toy, and more seriously, to work out what kind of performance he could expect from the real thing. In the construction of his new bird, Rochelt once again used the tried and trusted materials, carbon fibre and Kevlar. It was unusual to use a compound like this in the making of a hang glider, but it was the winning combination which Rochelt had pioneered in his solar-powered machine nearly 10 years before. Although he didn't now have the problem of the solar cells, he'd set himself another difficulty: how not to sacrifice good aerodynamics in the design of the folding wing. As ever, his ingenuity found a way round this, and with hours of labor from the birdman and his flock of assistants, the machine gradually began to take shape in the workshop. After 3 weeks' work, the team are agog to know just how their new bird will look with its wings unfolded. It's still missing the pilot's seat and the overall covering, But with a little imagination, they can see the rudiments of a bird-like shape. Already, Rochelt is dreaming of putting the machine into production so that anyone can fly like a bird. Anyone who can afford it, that is. But first, the bird must be put through its paces. In its finished glory, Flair was taken to Italy in September 1987 for its first test flight. It rose to 3,000 feet, flying farther and faster than any regular hang glider. Now Rochelt is working on a new version. In this, he's trying to incorporate the pilot into the wing structure, forming, as it were, the body of the bird. He's gone a long way since the tailor of Ulm tried to cross the Danube in 1811.
The next QED